Hello YouTube, Metro85 here with Airfare Gaming, and we're going to be talking about the Digimon BT10 tier list. So it might be a little early to make a tier list, but this is just going to be like my personal thoughts basically, and really my first video here on AFG, kind of introduce myself, talk about who I am, and what I hope to be making for the channel and the team. So my real name is Mike Carbello. You might have seen me in different Digimon events. I'm currently on my third regionals top. Got a couple more events coming up soon. And I've kind of played everything quite a bit. I played Vanguard pretty competitively, especially the phone game. Honestly, you might see me on different things. I'm always Metro 85 usually. I play on like Master Duel, or I play on DB in GOAT format. I was a big Yu-Gi-Oh grinder for a long time, like Nationals grinder and stuff. Big Magic grinder. But yeah, really big on Digimon. Digimon's my new main game, and I just wanted to give my insight on how I feel the BT10 format is going to shake up. Again, this is mostly my personal opinion. It's very likely that you'll not agree. I even have this like kind of memey, not even for locals category, but we'll go over the categories in a sec here. So, jumping into it. Tier 1. This is what I think you're going to see most consistently at the top tables or in the top 8 of events. Tier 1.5, I think that's where you're going to see more decks that like aren't in that like 4 deck representation in top 8, but you might see it as like a 2 or 3 of. Stuff like that, just like slightly below. Like I just think it's maybe has some consistency issues, or sometimes it's a little bricky. Tier 2, that's where I'm going to put stuff that I think is kind of like flash in the panty. You'll see it sometimes, but like I don't think you'll see it as much anymore. Fun tier, that's decks that I think still are worth playing. You'll still win some games sometimes, but definitely aren't as good anymore. And then not even for locals. I'm just going to go ahead and move Ragna into that tier. Sorry to my Ragna players, but they did you dirty. All right, let's get into this though. Besides Ragna and my little dig, so let's talk about the big bad boogeyman, X Cross. So X Cross, I'm actually or Crossheart, sorry, my brain, but Crossheart, I'm actually gonna put it in tier 1.5, and my reasoning for this is a lot of people talk about how this deck is the big bad boogeyman, but it was Japan's boogeyman. Japan notoriously has 2 very big differences from our meta, or I shouldn't say Japan, the Singapore Philippines region as well. 1, their Shoutmon fear came a lot from Evo Cups, where the deck was extremely dominant. However, Metal Garurumon X did not have full power in those tournaments. Their promo was banned, and the deck is very strong against Crossheart. Extremely strong. And I think because of that, and we have so many Melga players, NA, and Europe, etc., you're going to see this deck not quite put up the numbers everyone thought it would. I genuinely think that's going to be one of the biggest surprises that comes out of this format, is how not oppressive the deck is. The second very big detail is Yellow Hybrid was hit is hit for us, but was not hit for Japan. Yellow Hybrid Venusmon decks were extremely strong at punishing decks like Alpha, as an example, or like Metal Garurumon, who have to build 1 stack to go for game, because the Venusmon ability of giving it security attack minus and then just preventing its attack were so insane. And those are 2 factors that are drastically going to change our meta that I don't think people think about as much. Speaking of which, let's go ahead. We're going to pull Metal out here. I'm going to put him in tier 1. He really didn't gain any drastic weaknesses in the format. The deck is honestly insanely consistent still. It still does its thing most games, unless you are playing like a deck with heavy removal and they walk into one in security, it's probably still going to run through you most of the time. And I just can't in confidence put it lower than that. It's so consistent. But I don't need to be the one to tell you guys that Metal Garu is consistent. The deck is bonkers. So tier 2, we're going to be talking about Alphamon here. Now, tier 2 might seem a bit low, but I genuinely think the speed that we pick up to and the way that interaction works in this set will make Alpha quite a bit weaker. I don't think the deck's like gone. I think you're still going to get Keck W'd by Breath of the Gods off of Doru Gray. Like, you're going to see still the classics. You're going to see 2 Cool Boys tapped on a Dex Doru Gray. Your opponent's going to slam Alpha with his 3 memory, and he's going to Keck W some Breath of the Gods, and you're going to lose the game on the spot still. Which is fine. But I do think that it's just the pathing of the way the new decks work. It's just very fast. And while Alpha was good in OTK format, where everyone was OTKing, arguably OTK format was kind of slow. Because there's so much pressure that gets put out now with the new decks. Like Crossheart as an example, it's like turn 3, they can like have already swung you with 2 Sparrowmons, have a Ballista in play, or genuinely, if they had a nut draw, they could have like already cross forward you like twice. And it's like, if you're Alpha, you just lost. You just can't keep up with it. But again, not to like say it's out of the format entirely, it still has very like good placing in the meta. Like, it still like has counterplay and stuff like that. But genuinely, I find that is quite a bit weaker than people are going to expect going into this format. Armor Rush, I'm really just going to put it in the fun category. We're going to see so many new decks pop up in this format. Blue Flare is going to honestly ruin Armor Rush a lot of the time. Venusmon is going to ruin Armor Rush a lot of the time. Like the yellow hybrid. Venusmon, for me, I'm calling that a yellow hybrid, basically. You're going to see like that start ruining it. Crossheart, main deck Sunrise Buster, that blows it out of the water. Garu bounces it. Like, just so many cards in this deck like in these like new formats actively just prevent Armor Rush from doing anything. We would really need to have some haymakers out of left field for Armor Rush to come back into viability, in my opinion, and we're just not getting them. Like, we get that stuff in EX3 for the black-red stuff. It's really not even a part of Armor Rush. It's its own thing at that point. It's sad. I love that deck, but here we are. Bagara Army. I'm going to put that in not even for locals yet. That deck looks like it'll be really fun BT11, and I'm very excited to see what like hand loop stuff they're going to like, or like hand removal they're going to create. Discard, I guess, is the word I'm looking for. But I just don't think it's there yet. I think you could play it and have some fun. Maybe we'll put it in fun. I think it would be fun to play, but I don't think... I think the amount of games you will win will be less than you expect. Beelstar. I'm going to put it in tier 2 based on what I said. Honestly, Metal Garu is super soft to removal. Genuinely, Crossheart's pretty soft to removal. And Beelstar is a deck that just vomits removal into play. I do think that... no. I think it's too slow. I genuinely think it's too slow for this format. So we're going to have to put it at fun for now. But I do think Beelstar is like just right there. It's so close to being really good. It's just not there yet. And I think the starter deck Impmon stuff, there's like a bit of extra mill stuff in there that's pretty good. And it's clearly for Beelsmon, but it really helps Beelstar kind of get that push. Because that's what it needs. It really needs... If it was one turn faster, Beelstar would be like bussin'. It would be slamming down, clapping cheeks at the table. But the problem is, like, I feel like whenever I play Beelstar, you always look at your graveyard and you're like, yeah, I'm dead to this cross 4 next turn. and I'm like a turn away from being able to do anything like valuable here. It's like I could play it and then kill 2 dudes and then die to cross 4, and it's like, yep, sick. But yeah, fun deck, just not right there. I'm gonna put Beelstar in the same boat. I think he starts going up here, maybe post set or starter deck 14, maybe even here. But right now, I think he's in the same boat. I think he's too inconsistent. He's too slow. When the stars align and you hit it, you'll hit it, and you might get there. But I just feel like the format's just too fast, and you're too inconsistent to like keep up. Again, the dream happens with both of these. Both of these can top. I'm not saying like decks in fun can't top. It's just not as consistent. Bloomlord, I'm gonna put him in fun tier. I don't think people should be playing this deck before EX3. And then in EX3, he goes brr all the way up to tier 1. But genuinely, I think you should pick up Bloomlord stuff now while it's probably going to be cheap. I think you should get ready to play Bloomlord with Hydramon. I think the deck's incredibly pushed in EX3. And they probably realized. They realized Bloomlord was too weak. But it's probably a fun deck. Spam some dudes out, do some cool stuff. I just don't think it's got legs yet until EX3. Blue Flare, I'm going to slam him in 1.5 as well. I genuinely think Blue Flare is very strong against a lot of the field. It does have some weaknesses against some decks, like, as an example, Metal Garu. Pretty soft against Metal Garu. In Blue Flare, you need them to have 2 Digimon or to have less sources than you. X-antibody decks are going to have more sources than you. Metal Garu is a deck that doesn't really promote a second one, or if it plays like a Goblin or something, it attacks it in to try to like prevent it being weak to your nonsense. Yeah, it's not like a bad deck by any means. I actually find it quite strong. I just, I don't know. I love it as like a control player and like a tempo player, but it's not an exciting deck to talk about in my opinion. I think it's just good. It's, if anyone plays Magic, it's the Jund. I think it'll be 50% against most of the field, which is good. That's where you want to be. Like, realistically, if you could be over 50% against the whole field, you're playing Metal Garu, but yeah. But no, yeah, I think Blue Flare is a very solid choice. I genuinely find it a very enjoyable experience to play. It's not very exciting. Nothing really changed. It's basically our replacement for Blue Hybrid. It'll come in, it'll do the job. It'll take its top placings, it'll move on. D Brigade, put that in tier 2. Guess what, boys? We're going into Tamer format. You know what happens in Tamer format? There's more Death X around. You know what happens when there's more Death X around? It really sucks to be playing a deck that goes wide. D Brigade, while being a good deck, unfortunately can't do too much against the constant stream of Death X that it'll be seeing in this format coming up. EX3, again, go burr, gets a lot better, but the amount of Death X's going around, D Brigade is in a very, very fragile position going into this meta. Again, Keck W, Rookie Rush will still get you there. You'll still see tops of D Brigade all the time. It'll take its 1 to 2 whenever people run hot, but that's what we want the aggro deck to be doing. Dark Nightmon. I'm going to put him over in tier 1.5. Once again, I find that Dark Nightmon is a deck that is very good. It does its thing. It does its well. It's very consistent, and that's why I put it as high as 1.5. Maybe people would put it closer to 2, but from a lot of the testing I've seen of Japan, Singapore, Philippines format, it's so consistent and it does the thing it's supposed to do so much that I find it's quite a bit stronger than you'd think. Again, it's hard to say like what people are going to play because, again, Japan's very, hey, new toy came out, we're going to play that. But personally, I find the removal options of it, the control on de-digivolving, and just its ability to consistently have bodies And one extra fact, it's another deck that can just slam like 2 to 3 Death X in because it can evolve into it naturally if it wants. It's just all around a very strong package. D Reaper. I'm actually like, I didn't really want to pre-plan a lot of this. I kind of wanted to like think about it on the fly and get like some honest like responses. I had like my reasonings for a lot of the decks, but D Reaper. Honestly, I think I'm gonna put it in fun tier. I'm gonna put it high fun tier. If I'm gonna say that this is like a tier system, I'm gonna put Bagara Army all the way down here. But D Reaper, honestly, the biggest enemy it's gained is Blue Flare. Blue Flare being able to freeze and stun so many of its things, it's gonna hurt it. Blue Flare also being able to play things like the starter deck 1 Greymon to gain security attack, so that way it can be like a control deck that also is aggressive. Blue Flare also gets started really fast due to like blazing memory boost and stuff. And D Reaper just not as scary anymore. Decks play very low to the ground. It's like them passing you to 1 on turn 1. If you're Blue Flare, you're like, all right, pass you back on 4, play Blazing Memory Boost, here's my Tamer and all my stuff, and you're just set up for the rest of the game. Like, I don't know. I think D Reaper's, like, it's not drastically worse than the spot it's in BT9, but in BT9, it's not, like, in a great spot right now anyway. You'll notice it stopped topping pretty much. The deck can, its biggest enemy is itself. You'll draw hands with no searchers, hands with all searchers. You just don't do anything and you lose. Most decks have removal for Gatekeeper now. Things like Crossheart aren't going to care about a Gatekeeper because they're just going to Sunrise Blaster it off the earth. Yeah. I'm going to skip Guyomon for right now because I'm going to do him with another deck. Guyomon, I'm going to put him in low fun tier. This deck is... they just didn't give it enough. It's so close. You're right there. And you just... come on. Give him something. I think this deck will actually become very powerful when this Digimon inevitably gets his Mega. But right now, he's just so mid. His gimmick is so cool, and he's a fun locals deck. I'm gonna play him at locals, and I'm gonna Keck W swing unblockable 3 checks, and it's gonna be funny, and then I'm gonna lose. But he's just I would never put that deck in a tournament environment. There's gonna be way too many games where you just draw a hand of a bunch of garbage like champions that you can't do anything with, and it's just not. He's not quite there. Again, in the future, probably will be pretty good. Right now, pretty mid. Imperial, I genuinely think has to be in fun tier right now. I think maybe I'll put him tier 2. You might, I'll put him high fun tier. This deck, if you draw the pieces, you pop off. You guys know the drill. If you open combo, you open combo. But the problem is, like, you opening combo and comboing off, your opponent might have just been like, yeah, but I already have the entire Garus stack made. And then, like, he's promoting post your Imperial. He's bouncing your stuff. Like, you're going to take, like, 3 checks off him, and then he's going to win the game. So, the combo just doesn't get you there anymore. You're, like, on that Mega Death and Pray kind of living. But, like, at the same time, you're also on that, like, praying for no removal spell on their side. Like, the deck's still fun. The deck can still get there, as proven in Japan, but I just don't think it's quite the boogeyman it used to be. I do think it's going to get support in the future. Not that red-purple support. That stuff's kind of its own deck and weird. But I do think it'll get more support, and I think it'll, like, always come back. DNA Digivolve is such a strong mechanic that it's very likely that you'll see at some point some other blue-green deck just can incidentally make Imperial, and that card will come back. Or Piledramon, I should say. Because Piledramon's an insane card. Like, if you can assemble a blue and green Digimon in any other deck, you should probably be slamming Piledramons. There's just so much potential. Alright, Justmon. We're going to put him up here in Tier 1. I genuinely think playing Justmon GX is wrong, but that was the picture I found for it. I think playing the Justmon and X antibody kind of two-turn setup kill combo is very powerful. It's basically what most people switch to. I talked to a lot of Singapore players and Japanese players about Justmon and like what they thought it was like in the meta. We have no idea how the matchup with Melga goes because it was banned in their world. Like they don't know what it looks like at full power. But Justmon is extremely powerful. It has a lot of play against the other OTK decks because of its ability to assemble blockers. It assembles full combo very fast. It is deceptively powerful. Do not sleep on this deck. It seems very mid when you look at it, but when you pick it up and play it, it goes... It's initial D. It's foot on the pedal, gas pressed. We're drifting to the victory circle. It is insane. I thought that deck was a meme until I started like really looking into it, and I was like, oh, no. Justmon's like the play. Mastemon, my waifu combination. Sadly, I don't think this deck's good enough in any format right now. Don't you worry, Mastemon. BT11, you get to prove everyone wrong and immediately rocket to the second best deck in the format. But for right now, you're just Lucimon's in my binder. That's a little mean. Actually, I think it could be up here. I think Mastemon's still a fun time, but we'll leave Ragna in his own tier for now. Maybe we'll just call this Ragna. Is anything else going in Ragna tier? No, we're just going to call this Ragna. Ragna, sad face. Okay. Alright, so next we have Guyomon. He's going to be at tier 2 here. I do find the Tamer removal and the genuine OTK potential that he currently has is still pretty good. There is some new cracks in the armor. He can get bullied a bit by things like Sunrise Blaster or Sunrise Buster from Crossheart, being able to deal with things that are pretty large. Dark Knightmon's D-Digivolve is pretty strong against him. Plus, Guyomon is a little soft to things like Venusmon, as well as things like Guyomon Maiden Mode. And there's just so much more removal going around, and we're looking at massive DP reductions that can just rip the whole stack out from under him. I will say 16 is still like, it's still big. It's nothing to scoff at, but these control decks are going to be able to get out from under it. People argue that because of the Tamer format we're going into, Black War Greymon becomes better. But Black War Greymon is always the slower option, and a good Crossheart player is going to save under different Tamers to give you the least value. As much as I think the Tamer deletion mechanic is good, same with Lucimon, I do not think it is good enough to get you there anymore. Yeah. I was going to do these two together, but I decided against it. We're going to put Wargrey X in high fun tier. Genuinely, this deck fell off. I'm not quite sure why it fell off, but it fell off. You can still pretty much make full stack. You can go into Wargrey from BT1. You rip your opponent's entire security in one swing, and then BT Omni, or Blitz Omni to kill them. Not sure why we stopped doing that, but it seems like almost no one plays the deck anymore. It still had quite a big appearance in Japan during BT10 period, and they almost saw no Guyomon. So for some reason, us in Japan are very split on which one's better between Guyomon and Wargrey. But I think Wargrey's fun. I just don't think it's as good as it used to be. Minervamon. Minerva Loop. I think it's better than Reaper, actually. I'm counting Minervamon as like Minerva Loop, Lilith Loop style, like that deck basically. I think it's good. I think good players will do well with it. There's a world I put it here, actually, because I actually think it's close. It's really close to tier 2. Honestly, we're going to put it in tier 2. Because I think you'll see Average players will try to pilot it and not quite get there, but you'll see like those really good players, those same people that were topping with Lilith Loop before, who know that purple loop style intrinsically, they will pick that deck up and they're like, oh wow, everything is just everything we had to work for before, it gives it to us for free now. Minerva's so good at looping and getting swings. You can kind of just like loop to almost an infinite security, or not security, an infinite memory, while killing your opponent all in one turn if the draws go well. Like it's kind of ridiculous. But yeah, the deck looks very fun. I think the good control players will have fun with it. Other than that, I think it's a bit too weak for the format we're going into. I've realized I should put Bloomlord a bit higher. No, yeah, we'll keep her there. We're going to be talking about Grandis. I love Grandis. We're going to be putting him up here in the low 1.5, high tier 2 section of the tier listo. Grandis, very strong. Has the ability to play the OTK deck, has the ability to play the control deck. It's genuinely gained a valuable resource in the rookie Kokuamon that has come out. I think having it for the extra source, the extra draw off of going like 0-0 on early turns, with like Mimi's shenanigans, you can sometimes like set up an extra search to find the pieces you're missing. It's like a little thing, but it feels big when you're actually playing it. If we had also gotten the security rookies this set, this deck might have been in tier 1 for me, honestly. But Kick W, Bandai, where are security rookies? But no, don't sleep on Grandis. The problem with all these big guy decks is when they get tapped and run over by a large bug, they lose. And with the ability to now play the grade, like the regular level 3 Kokuamon, and then X antibody over it, without having to pass the turn by paying a mana on turn 1. You've now opened worlds where you can more easily keep Pierce after Digiburst, and now you can much easier to play the control player. You can kill 2 Digimon and then also security checks off them, or get your security checks off them. It actually like removes a lot of vulnerabilities the deck has, which is, it's such a small thing that you wouldn't think about, but Kokuamon existing, giving you the ability to go like turn 1 hatch, Kokuamon for 0 draw, Kokuamon X antibody draw, Weedmon go. And now if you build the full chain up and you go Okuagamon and then Okuagamon X antibody, or Okuamon X antibody, sorry. You tap their guy, you gain a memory, you slam into bug, you kill it, and now you can keep piercing, or maybe keep piercing plus something else, depending on like what your sources looked like. Or like say you missed on Okuamon X antibody, but you had Okuamon, you can now keep piercing, like stuff like that. Like there's little niche stuff where that card really helps existing. Sukuyamon. I'm gonna put this deck in higher fun tier. Put Wargrave down a little bit. Sukuyamon deck was very bad when it came out. Let's not sugarcoat it. It was awful. But now it has a real boss card. It has better plugins. Better's a strong word. It has good plugins. I think the one that gives blocker is like pretty good. It's just gained a lot. It's gained a lot of pieces. I think it's gonna be a fun deck. I think picking up the pieces is a bad idea right now. I think if you didn't previously buy into it, I think the cards are going to go down because people are going to realize it's not as good as they think, except maiden modes. Try to get those if they're cheap, because the next 2 decks we're going to talk about are also going to be playing maiden modes. Okay, so next 2 we're going to be talking about are Venusmon and Security Control. Venusmon is basically our yellow hybrid evolution. What it does is it builds up a quick hybrid stack into a Venusmon, playing good removal options. Usually you're going to see it as yellow-red nowadays, as well as the combination of Sukuyamon Maiden Mode to control your opponent. Venusmon, if you didn't know, she gives security attack minus to the board, including new Digimon that come in after, and then anything with security attack minus can't attack her, and cannot attack or sorry, does not trigger when attacking or when digivolving effects. So not only can they not do damage, they also can't get value. Very powerful, especially the not getting digivolving effects. Card is extremely strong. They hit Jet Sylph, so she's going to be a little less strong than she could have been, but there's already been tops in Japan proving that they didn't need Jet Sylph to do it. You kind of just play other level 5s. Some people ended up going to the Shakumon engine to get that recovery there. Even playing like the blue Angemon to try to set up other plays adjacent to basically you DNA, you can bounce a dude and then go into Venusmon to lock them out for the turn. But overall, deck is still going to be good. You're going to start seeing tops from it again. Just be ready for that. And then one of my personal favorite decks in the entire game right now is Security Control. So, Security Control gains, honestly, not too many pieces this set. I might be playing a Maiden mode in mine as like a new piece on the top. If we had the Halsemon, Hosmon, I always forget his name. He's the security rookie for yellow. If we had that guy, I actually might have put that deck higher. But I'm going to put it at the tippity tip here, because turns out Justmon, pretty soft to removal. Especially DP-based removal or things like Spiral Degrade. Alphamon, Crossheart, though, pretty soft to removal. Blue Flare has Armor Purge, pretty soft to most other forms of removal, though. Dark Knight, not that soft to removal. It's honestly not that soft to it at all. Grandis, pretty soft to removal. Guyomon, pretty soft to, again, DP-based or Spiral Degrade-based removal. The deck is still situated very strong against most of the format. You will see decks run Delicate Plan. I think you'll see some Justmon decks adapt it. But again, Justmon's kind of away from that OTK stance. It's more of a 2-turn kill nowadays. So what you're going to see is a lot more of that style. But genuinely, I think the deck's very strong. Yeah, I'm pretty confident with this list. I can't think of anything else I would add to this, in all honesty. I think next set we get like 2 new additions that change the numbers on this a bit. Also, if we get the Doru Gray hit, we can go throw him in Ragna tier. But honestly, I think this is going to be pretty close to where things shake out. Some things might see more tops than I expect, but realistically, we're playing a card game without mulligan and with a lot of luck-based factors. Anything's possible, right? But this is just, in my personal opinion, where I think the meta is going to shape out. I think we are going to notice very different top representation than Japan and the other Asian game-playing countries. Sorry, I use that definition because the website, when you pick region, it says NA and Asia. So I just lump Singapore, Philippines, etc. into the Asian category. That's my apologies if that's confusing. But honestly, my stance is that you should play what you want to play. I just want you to be a little prepared going into the format. For decks I know well, give a little bit of feedback and just have an open opinion. I have a tab open here with Venusmon's effect just because I was trying to remember exactly how it was worded for the second part. But yeah, as far as the meta, I'm very excited to play this format. Sorry, I'm just kind of thinking. I didn't want to script this because I wanted my first video to be very just me, and I kind of wanted to just talk. I had some editing on this one because there's a couple things that ran away from us and stuff like that. But honestly, we're going to notice very different results. Japan and America have always had distinctly different play styles. Blue Hybrid was not as much of an issue in Japan as it was for us. The Japanese players, Singapore, Philippines, etc., were much more willing to jump to new decks and strategies than we were. BT8, they basically all jumped to things like Imperial, and we were like, Keck W, why would we play Imperial when you could still play Blue Hybrid and have basically no counterplay from your opponent? And it's a good point. Why would you? And I see a very similar result happening with Metal Garu. I think the deck's incredibly strong still. I think their numbers were drastically lower than they should have been because of the banning of the Guyomon champion promo. Because of the availability of the card in their regions. And because of the lack of Metal Garu, I think you're going to notice that Crossheart is slightly weaker than people expected. I noticed that the deck will still take games, obviously. Crossheart is still going to be very good against most other decks in the format, but it's the power of its Rookie Rush style gameplay, coupled with the fact that after Rookie Rushing, it can just start slamming a big dude, draw a bunch of cards. It's basically the perfect aggro deck. But the perfect aggro deck loses to the tempo deck every day of the week. And that's where I think Justmon and Metal Garu sit. Justmon's ability to make a bunch of blockers, Metal Garu's ability to both be a big blocker and just kill them and bounce all their nonsense. I can't in good conscience put anything else in this category. I think it's just these two that stand as the pillars of the format. I may be wrong. Maybe everyone in America forgets about this and he falls down here. But from what I've been seeing from pre-testing, people know this deck's still strong. I think Justmon's the deck people aren't going to be ready for, though. Almost all the testing I've seen, almost no one's playing Justmon in testing. They're just not testing it at all. And again, Japan did a lot of iterations of this. Originally, they didn't play GX at all. Then everyone swore that Justmon GX was the play. You had to play Justmon GX. And then we had the recent swarm of other players in EX3 and the end of BT10 format that were like, you're all silly. Justmon GX is brick. Stop playing so many bricks in your deck. Play good cards. And then we just got the overwhelming era of Justmon and X antibody topping. But that's just my opinion. Again, none of this is like fact. If you disagree, tell me. I would love to hear about it. I would love to know where you would like maybe adjust some things. It's very possible my opinion. Obviously, I don't speak for everyone. This is very much a me thing, and I play this game a lot. I love this card game. If you can see my desk right now, my desk is covered in my DC1 Grand Prix promos, pieces of decks, and just some other nonsense like that. But yeah, I might do like a fun little deck profile soon for a very silly, very, very silly BT10 deck where you can Exodia style OTK your opponent in one turn through a alternate win con. And people who know might know, but it is basically like a 5-card combo that kills your opponent. It's very silly. But that'll be for next time. Let me know what you think. Smash that like button. Ring the bell. Don't forget to subscribe. Sorry, I've always wanted to say that. Never done the YouTuber thing. But I hope everyone has a good day. Thanks for watching.